Just imagine having industry professionals design a custom plan for you to land your dream job. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a simple system you can use in order to build your plan so you can stop wasting money on courses that aren't working and start spending more time enjoying your life and getting the job you've always dreamed of. I'm Maurice A. Davis. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Stuff, and I will be walking you through how you can create your own guided learning path so you never have to worry about how to learn the information, how to where to buy courses from, or if you are learning the right things as you're looking to transition into your marketing career. So, how do we do that? Well, we do that through a system I like to call Rapids. I'm going to walk you through each one of the steps and show you how you can use that in order to build out and devise a learning plan for you that's customized on your areas of strengths and weaknesses. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you through what this looks like so that you can create your very own. So let's look at the Rapid system, and then I'm going to walk you through what each one. So, Rapids is an acronym that stands for each one of the steps that you have to take to be successful in this learning system. So, we have the R. So that stands for read. Okay. And when I am creating my custom learning path, my objective is to figure out what do I need to know in order to be successful on the topic area that I'm trying to learn. Okay. So today we're going to use an example of public relations. I'm going to use an example of public relations to make sure that I'm showing you in real context what that looks like. Now, I'm not going to have enough time to show you my full process, but I'm going to give you context for each step. And if this is a video that you'd be interested in seeing the exact thing or me doing a live and kind of showing you how I do this, drop a comment below and I will schedule something like that so I can walk you through it. So since we're doing PR, I will tell you, I always try to start with a book. And the reason why I start with the book is because when you are looking at places that the friction for creating content is low, that means you don't necessarily know if the quality is high. Okay. So the more friction there is to creating that piece of content, the higher the overall quality will be. So when I'm looking at books, oftentimes I prefer textbooks because the friction's really high. In order for someone to be able to write a textbook, oftentimes they've had to go to school for 10 plus years. They've either had to get accepted to some sort of submission, and the editing process is pretty strenuous. And then oftentimes there's also a required research process, right? So the friction's really high on that type of book. The other books that I really like are the For Dummies series, and for the same reason, right? For Dummies selects people that have been in industries for a really long time. They have a solidified format that the writer has to go through, and then they also have a requirement around the writer providing their sources. So these are the two sources. I'm going to use a simplified textbook today to show you because it's shorter and just easier to digest. But just know that the process works regardless of the books that you're using. So you can use any book that you like, and the process is the same. So the first step is we're just going to read and we're going to find something that we can trust. And I will show you what this book looks like so that you can see what I'm reading for the sake of PR. Let's go ahead and flip the screen. Okay, so this is the book that we're using for public relations. Okay, so this is a company called Skookin, and they provide learning courses for or simulated learning activities for students in marketing. Okay, well, for students because they have some other courses. So when we're reading this, what we're doing is we're trying to find the appropriate level of context about the subject. So oftentimes, what I will do when I'm going through this content, the first thing in my textbook, I will read through the table of contents, right? And if you're familiar with any study habits, you've probably heard this before, like read the table of contents, read the bolds, read all that stuff. I only really review the table of contents for what we're talking about right now, but that's because I need my mind to create a map of what I'm going to learn. And that's going to help with some of the other pieces that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. So here is the table of contents. I know this is what we're going to get to. And then right away, I will jump into the content. Okay. So again, read your learning objectives, especially because this is another reason why I really like textbooks, is because they give you the learning objectives of the chapter. This is going to help you align with what it is you're going to get out of the chapter. And again, allow you the ability to create kind of that map of where you're going. So your brain is not trying to figure out what you're doing. And then I'm looking at my notes here. So once we have this, then we're going to actually start reading the chapter. As we're reading the chapter, then we're going to do something else called ask. And as we're walking through this, there's going to be stuff that comes up that's going to pop questions into your mind. Now, I've already read this section. It's not very detailed, right? So this is just high level. So I'm going to show you another example of a PR textbook or PR book that I went through before starting this recording, where I was able to ask some really good questions. Okay. So as I was going through this, what is public relations? Here's an example of some questions that I was able to come up with. So one of the questions was, how was the situation handled by the former CEO of BP? Right. So in this text, it talks about how, from a PR standpoint, the CEO of BP handled it very poorly. And so some of the questions I have are around that. How is the situation handled? Because I need to go back and review that situation so that I have the context, because this is supposed to be a model of how not to do public relations. What made his handling so horrible? Why are the two situations being compared? And the two situations I'm talking about are Rolls-Royce had what they're calling in the book a PR nightmare, and then that caused me to ask the question of, oh well, how was the Rolls-Royce situation handled? And then finally, what would have improved the situation? Okay. So these are just some basic questions that I'm asking about the text. And the goal is to figure out, like, as you're going through, in the back of your mind, you're going to be asking questions, or you're going to be thinking things. When you think that thought, grab that and write it down. So that's what we're going to do in the ask portion. After we have read enough of the content, then we're going to want to stop and put the content in our own name, or in our own words. So in own words. Okay. Forgive me about the handwriting. Um, I am I'm a marketer, not a calligrapher. Okay. So we have read, ask, and then put it in our own words. Okay. So these are the first three steps. So this right here, again, take a look at this. This is me putting it in my own words. What I got out of this is like, hey, the most effective way to handle PR is to admit the negatives and engage with people as humans. Okay. As we go on, then we're going to want to do some sort of illustration. Now, because of the way that this process is outlined, I'm going to show you an illustration of what that would look like. Okay. So let's go back to here. So you have not seen this yet, but one of the things that the book talked about was that PR has some interrelated subjects. Okay. And let me see if I can find it on the text, and I will show you the text. Okay, so many different fields such as management, media, communication, and psychology. So when I'm creating my illustration for this, I might say media, I might do manage, and we might say psych, and then we got com. And this again is just an illustration based on what I've learned so far. As you continue to work inside of this system, these illustrations may change. This is just what I'm able to pull out so far. So this helps me remember that PR is really a interrelationship between these fields. It's not a independent study. And what that means for me, in order for me, if I really want to learn PR, I have to get a really strong handle on PR in general. And then I'm going to have to visit some of these other areas to gain some strong perspective around these topics so that I can be the most effective person in PR. Right now, just so we're all on the same page, this is not something that you're going to do overnight. This is a progressive development of your skills. So right now, we've already talked about the illustration. Let's move this over. We've talked about the illustration. Okay, there we go. And then we want to, the next step is to demonstrate, right? We want to discuss or teach. So just like I'm doing this YouTube video walking you through my own system, right? One of the things that you can do is the exact same thing. So as you begin to build this out, whatever your process for learning is, creating your learning path, you will want to discuss and teach these sections. So let's jump back over to the screen really quick. So as I get done, this first chapter is all about what is public relations. What that may look like for you is when you get done and you have a broader understanding of what public relations is, maybe you do a 5-minute video about what is public relations. And your objective is to teach the information as simply as possible. This process is essentially taking the Feynman technique and interweaving it into a few other learning techniques. Okay. And then finally, our last step is we want to secure some projects. Okay. So we either need to go out and, based on what we learned, we need to go out and figure out how we can apply the information that we learn inside of the chapters. Now, I will tell you, there are going to be times where what you're learning is so foundational, there's not necessarily going to be a project that you're going to associate with it. But when you've gotten through, say, the larger context of the chapter, and you're like, okay, now I kind of understand how to put together a PR campaign, then we want to go out and we want to create our own project. And maybe that is designing a PR campaign for a fictitious company. Maybe that is designing a PR campaign for a local business, working with a nonprofit in order to design a PR campaign, whatever it is. But we now have to apply the information that we've learned in a real world context, as real as humanly possible, while doing this process for a fictitious company that you create can be helpful to solidify. I will tell you that if I have it my way, I tend to create one for my own business first. Then I will create one for another business. And then I will work with a client. What that may look like for you is make up a company, and it can be your own. Then create whatever the activity is for another company. You could pick a publicly traded company, maybe Pepsi or Coke or whatever. And then finally, you go out and find someone to actively work on the skill with. So what you've done is you've taken the time to read, you've gotten the book learning, you've translated the learning into your own words. So you're starting to master the content. You have spent the time to communicate that information to someone else. And then finally, you have secured projects. And what that's done is it's taking you through the 4 primary cycles of learning. And I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Klob learning cycle. And that's what we're doing with this. We're taking you through multiple levels of learning and then through multiple cycles of learning simultaneously so that you can master the skills that you need in order to land your ideal career. So if you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments below. And if this type of content is helpful for you as you look to build your skills in marketing, then please let me know below so that I can continue to make content like this. If you like this, we can dive into more about the learning styles or learning cycles and learning levels and how you can apply that to your marketing career in order to become the best marketing possible. Outside of that, stay out here winning, y'all.